I assume the recording in progress means we're live, Mr. Keen.
I hope it does. Yes. Yes, we
Very good.
got people joining us right now, so no, it should be good. We're all about ready to rock.
Good. Andy, how are you today, my friend?
Doing well. No complaints. Out here in the office with the team, and yeah, excited to jump into this stuff with you guys. So happy it's Thursday. How about you guys?
I am good. I'm good. It's warming up here in the Midwest, so very
Oh,
happy about that. Nate, how are things with you over at Strong CRM?
Good. They are good. It is not warm in Seattle. It has been below freezing for the past several days, and we're supposed to get snow here, which is not normal.
Good.
Um, so we're having the opposite effect here. So
Good, good,
yeah.
good. Well, we can get into it. I know we only have, 29 minutes left, and we want today to be very much focused on tactics for account planning. We absolutely realize that we have folks on this call that are current customers of Prolific, maybe current customers of Nate and his team over at Strong CRM. But we hope that there's a lot of folks that aren't Prolific customers and may never be Prolific customers. Today, we really want to focus on strong strategies around strategic account plan, and I'm sure there's some very strategic sellers on here that know maybe 80% of what we're going to talk about today, but maybe you can take away 20% and a couple tactics that might help you, especially now as we're kicking off into a new fiscal year. Maybe that's next week for some of you all. Maybe you're a month into it for others, and different months for other folks. So just by way of quick introduction, my name's Eddie. I lead our team here at Prolific, joined today by Andy and Nate. Andy, I'll do a quick intro for you, and then Nate, I'll hand it over to you. Andy runs our marketing operations, also heavily engages with customers just to ensure success across the platform, and ensure that we're supporting our customers around a best account planning strategies. Also joined by Nate from Strong CRM. They're a great partner of ours who helps drive adoption and implement our technology. But Nate, I'll hand it over to you for more of a proper introduction of yourself and Strong.
No worries. You did a good job, but we're a Salesforce partner. We do implementations and optimizations of Salesforce and associated tools that we like. One of the tools that we like that is directly natively installed into Salesforce is Prolific. We work with them either on some of their existing customers or some of our customers that we bring to Prolific for account planning. So we do kind of general Salesforce implementations and optimizations, focus on really trying to drive revenue, obviously, with those decisions. And then also we work specifically on Prolific as well as a few other platforms like Spiff and Lead IQ and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for the intro. Let's hop into it. I'll share my screen here soon, and a lot of what you guys are going to see today is Prolific. I'll reiterate. While you're seeing the Salesforce screen and the Prolific screen, think about that however you are doing account planning today. It could be in a PowerPoint document, it could be in a collaborative Google document. But again, we're going to focus around the tactics and things you should be thinking about no matter where your account planning process lives and breathes today. We also understand going into this that account planning is 100% not a one size fits all. But hopefully, what we talk about today is for any B2B seller that is doing strategic selling, and that could be in any segment, and could be your top customers in your SMB, your mid-market segment, and absolutely for the strategic and enterprise sellers out there. But we're going to get a bit granular on the tactics that we feel support any B2B seller in a collaborative environment to help get the job done with their strategic accounts. So if you take anything away from today, what I will say, the reason that Prolific exists is because our belief is that there needs to be really strong discipline around account planning. If you are going to do account planning and look at it as a task, and by task, I mean I'm going to stay up till 2 a.m. and do my QBR before getting in front of a strategic account team session, and I'm going to make a great presentation and forget about it. Please, please, please don't do that or rethink your process or how you do look at account planning. Buying into the process and thinking about it as a daily, weekly motion to progress what you set out as your ultimate goal for that account, to either win this customer for a prospecting plan, to potentially just keep this customer if you're a customer success manager, an account manager that's really focused on the renewal, or obviously the hope to go and grow and cross-sell different products or different divisions into that account plan. And also, I believe how you should be thinking about this is across a big organization, a small organization, you're really earning your internal reputation as you're building out the account plan. And what I mean by reputation, it's not your brand across the org, but it's really showing all of your product overlays, your solution engineers, your leadership team, and earning those company resources and show off what you're most likely doing, which is the research that you understand your customer. And obviously, the given is that you can show off your research, come in buttoned up for each strategic session that you do have with your customers. Before sharing my screen, the last thing I will say is account planning should very much be a collaborative process. If you're doing it alone, I think you're doing it the wrong way. And you should never win an opportunity with a strategic account team, or lose an opportunity with a strategic account team. So make sure you're sharing it with the world, giving yourself credit. That's how you're going to find some low-hanging fruit and some opportunities that you may have not thought about in the past, or just by doing your own research. So before I share my screen, Andy, Nate, anything you guys would like to share before we hop into it here?
Nope. This will be recorded. We'll send it after, and we'll share some resources as well, just templates and guides that people can take away.
Very good. Very good. So can you guys see my account screen here within Salesforce? Perfect. Perfect. So how we're going to start today is talking about the different types of data research that you can be doing or should be doing with strategic accounts. The first is your external data research. So that's things like your table stakes, company overview, just the basics, the industry, the size, the revenue, the market share, things like that. And getting more granular in best practice is the new day and age with ChatGPT, is just ask for a summary of the 10K for a lot of these large strategic companies. Ask what the CEO cares about. What are their strategic initiatives for the year? I remember when I was a BDR or SDR, I'd be on the train on the way to work and I'd be reading those things, and it took a ton of time and I hated doing it. But it was valuable when you're trying to reach out to executives or leaders. And now you can do it within a matter of minutes to fill out your account plan and have that there as you're doing your prospecting and as you're having those meetings across the org. Also, understanding the organizational structure. We'll show you some tactics around relationship mapping, understanding their current challenges and pain points. And obviously getting granular around the market analysis, understanding the competitive landscape, understanding the industry trends. Those are things that a really strong enterprise or strategic rep's doing, no matter what segment you're in, to really build out that plan and come with a strong point of view, which is really, really important for each account. So right now, this is how you get started. Right now, I'm showing a list of all of my accounts. Obviously, this is a demo org. I've already gone through the process of tiering out accounts within this org. And that's another good point, is account planning probably should not be done for all of your accounts. Now, if you're a rep with three accounts and that's your livelihood, it probably should be. If you're a rep that has 100 accounts, you should probably be looking at the propensity to buy, leveraging your revenue operations team, your sales operations team, to understand the gaps and why this customer is in my segment. Andy, I think you had a point of view around how to select and tier out those accounts, if you'd like to provide some perspective there.
Yeah, I'll share one thing we do. So up front, we're documenting the upside that an account has. So for us, we're a software business. Your business might be different, but how many business units could use your product that aren't part of the initial rollout? That's something we're documenting and looking at. We're looking at product usage. So companies that have strong product usage for your solution, that's a good sign if they've tapped out on licenses, that there might be an opportunity to sell additional licenses to teams that aren't using it today. Another thing that we look at is how many people across the business typically need to be involved in a day-to-day, motion of the account planning process. If you're engaging 6 to 10 plus people across an account, that's typically a pretty good sign that an account needs a plan in some regard. Just because you're managing a lot of relationships, there's probably complexities that a more transactional account won't have. So that's how I would think about which accounts need a plan as well.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Sorry, Nate, did you have something as well?
I'd say two things on the tiering as well. So one thing is when we typically work with orgs on tiering, we come up with kind of that top tier as a bit of a one in, one out, right? So if you you set a limit for that top tier, okay, this is going to be 50 accounts total for the whole company. And if one has to come out, then you get to put one in. So you promote one from tier 2 to tier 1, but you kind of really try to limit that top tier as really truly your strategic accounts. The other thing I'll say is everything with a rule has an exception. We do work with some clients that use Prolific for all of their accounts, and we wouldn't recommend that for everybody. But the reason why we would recommend it is if your company specifically only works with a couple of, or a smaller amount of accounts where each rep has only a few accounts that are spending over 6 figures with you per year, it's possible that you could have every account use the account planning tool. So while most customers, we would recommend this strategy, occasionally I do want to give credit to those that we work with that have kind of a all account planned situation. So we'll just say those two things.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. So what I'm showing you here, we've talked about doing the research and ways to do that research, whether it's the 10K ChatGPT synopsis of what their strategies are. It's important to document that. It's not just important to document it so you know that, but when you think about the account plan, you need to think about folks that should be accessing that plan, whether you're sending a PowerPoint to somebody, whether it's in a collaborative Google Doc. It's important for you to highlight the important things that you've come up with that are relevant to you for the expansion, keeping that account, or winning that account. So come in with that strong point of view, make sure it's highlighted, make sure you have a clear, concise strategy based on the research that you've done. And when we think about research, it's just basic account summary, understanding who this company is, what's their financial performance been? Are they struggling? How can you help them because they're struggling? Are they excelling? How can you help them because they are excelling? The basic things, what's their product portfolio? That's just basic website research and understanding where the white space is. Also, what are the CEO's strategic priorities? My guess is that you're probably not, hopefully you do get a chance to speak with the CEO at a large organization, but you're most likely going to be talking with folks that are aligning with the CEO's strategic priorities. Again, getting back to the 10K, what is the company's overall strategy for the year? You can see with what we've pulled within this account from a high-tech company, it's market expansion. How can we help this company with market expansion? It's research and development. R&D is really, really important for this organization. How can we align with those strategies? Partnerships, more collaborations. This company wants to expand their network. How can we help them do that? And so the documentation and being clear, concise of pulling out the relevant information that you see that are ultimately going to help you with the goal of that plan, which is also important. Come in and make sure you set what type of goal you want. Again, I mentioned at the beginning, it could be to grow this account, it could be just to maintain because this is a red account, and put documentation behind it. Put what's the revenue target for this. I think this is a money maker account for me this year, and it's going to help me make my year. I think we can get to $1.5 million. How are we going to do that over a 12-month period? So if there aren't any more comments around just the overview or the research part, what I'd like to get into is some of the internal data research that I referenced. And we'll start with just understanding the opportunity history and what's happened with this account. So how we do that with Prolific, and this is going to be different for some of you all, is just through our cross-sell analysis. And so when you're thinking about the potential within a key account, it's important to think about, most likely a strategic account is going to have either multiple business units, they're going to have different geographical locations that you, one second here, geographical locations that you would like to sell into. And you'll probably have multiple product overlays and reps that are going to be supporting those individual divisions or those accounts. So what you're seeing here is the concept of, I know that Big Sky Worldwide is the parent account. I know that these are the subsidiaries underneath of that account. And I know that these are my product categories or my product SKUs that I can potentially sell into this account. Now, the strategy and the tactic behind this is one, let's identify where we know there's been competitors in the past. That's what you're seeing in the red here. Let's understand or let's come up with a point of view of what's the total addressable market compared to either the open opportunities or current spend that we have in place with each of these business units by product. And so this is going to take some internal research. It could be scheduling 15 minutes with your RevOps team. It could be you sifting through the various opportunities or the historical opportunities that you have within Salesforce. And it's important to document these things. And so right now, what I can see is in the customer success division of Big Sky Worldwide, it looks like we have one open opportunity, but this business unit has been lightly penetrated. And so what I'd like to do is say, we need to identify this, or maybe we understand that there's a competitor there, and let's type in our notes. How are we going to penetrate this specific business unit? And so mapping that out, whether it's in Excel, whether it's in just a grid that you come up with, that's really going to target what your objectives are going to be and how you're going to focus on the relationship and the actions that you should take across each account plan. So now that we've identified that, okay, customer success, we know that we can get it in there. We know that all of our products are going to be relevant to this specific business unit. How are we going to strategize within this specific plan? Now, for prolific customers, that's where we go to the strategic objectives. You can see that, okay, I've already identified that we need to build out relationship maps for the Big Sky success team, which we'll get into here in a minute. Now, in order to do that, you should either be having a key account session with your business development rep that's supporting you. It could be with your executive team and saying, how are we going to figure out who and who's going to own the relationship within the Big Sky customer success team? And really focus on, and this is where it gets granular in the day-to-day, the week by week, compared to doing it on an annual or a quarterly basis, is set actions, set actual tasks for those folks, whether it's in Salesforce, whether it's over email, or however you're going to hold your account team accountable. And you can hold your executives accountable. Executives want to be held accountable. Your boss wants you to say, hey, I need you to prospect into this VP of sales. It's much easier, and you would be surprised. Executives want to help you early in the process of planning compared to getting called on January 30th at the end of the fiscal year and saying, hey, by the way, can you ping the CEO? Well, you're already way too far behind because you should be bringing that entire account team, your solution engineers, your product overlays, your executives. You should be bringing those folks in early to start to establish the relationship. So you're moving with one mindset across that account, and you already have those relationships built out across the org. Objectives can also be, hey, this is a green account. We really need to get executive alignment. How are we just going to figure out how we're going to meet with this executive team at a big event that we have coming up? Or how do we get them in the office? Or how do we get into their office for introductions and to begin understanding their business better? That could be a key objectives. With each of those objectives, there should be multiple tasks, multiple actions. It could be involving marketing. Again, there's so many different business units and so many different personas across your org that want to help you because you all have the one task of closing business and growing revenue across the org. So that's the way to think about strategic objectives. Before I get into relationship map, Andy and Nate, anything to add just around opportunity identification or strategy?
Yeah, I'll just call back to what you said at the beginning, which is this is a team sport, right? Account planning is a team sport. And what you said about getting executives in is huge, right? And that's why I'll say as a plug here, it's nice to have this not just in a deck that's in a SharePoint folder somewhere or a Google Drive folder, but have it in Salesforce so that you can actually create the tasks and assign them to those executives. They do want to be a part of this. They want to be notified early, and I think bringing them along in this account planning process is crucial to its success, but also crucial to your success as you try to expand or maintain accounts. So huge. That piece is huge. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Nate. So what I'm showing here is obviously a massive, massive part of the account planning process. It's the relationship piece. What you're seeing here, it might look like an org chart, which is an important piece, understanding who needs to be typically involved with an evaluation, and the way to understand at your organization who needs to be involved is find one of the largest strategic deals that have been closed by a rep. Reps are always willing to help. Understand who needed to be involved from day one when they either created their account plan or the lead came in or they prospected into that account. Understand how that one person grew to 2 people, that grew to 5 people, that grew to 15, that grew to 25 people. And ultimately, you'd be surprised looking back at strategic selling and understanding that we started with a director of sales enablement, or we started with a director of IT. We then found our way talking to the VP, who then transitioned us over to the legal team because they wanted to validate that we were a secure platform. And start to map all of those out. The purpose of relationship mapping isn't to be a task to prove that you can find as many people in the organization as humanly possible and add them to the map. The point of relationship mapping is to understand who typically buys, who is typically sitting in the boardroom table and saying, yes, I want to move forward with XYZ technology or services, and start to map those people out. And hopefully, or maybe not hopefully, but you're not going to understand who that entire team is yet. That team is going to transition over the year. People are going to get laid off, unfortunately. People are going to leave for better opportunities. You need to identify those things right away. And whether it's on the back of a napkin through a PowerPoint, any type of technology you can think of, you should be mapping that out and become obsessed with this relationship. Because the org chart is one thing, but the most important thing are the colors behind here and these secondary relationship lines. And so understanding not only my internal team and saying, okay, Eddie, we know that you need to have or try to build a relationship with the CEO of Big Sky Worldwide. We know that our VP of sales or VP of engineering needs to get aligned with XYZ person across the organization. And your internal team can get expansive. And this helps hold people accountable and say, you're responsible for this relationship. I'm going to help you. I'm going to keep this account plan up to date so you understand all of the activities that have happened. But this should be your Bible when it comes to building out the relationship. So that's for your internal team to your customer or prospect. You should also understand the internal org. The best way, in my opinion, to build out one of these relationship maps is once you identify somebody in green right here, a champion. Jesse Grimm right here. We've identified him as a champion. He came to us because he leveraged our team at a previous organization. He wants to help me find a way to sell this technology across the org. Jesse, let's hop on a quick call. I know that typically in an evaluation of our solutions over the period of a quarter, over the period of a year, I need to meet with this business unit, and this business unit. Do you agree with that? Yes. Okay. Well, let's start building out the map. You would be surprised how much folks want to help you help themselves sell something internally. And so being able to have this front-facing application that says who reports to who, number one, who has relationships with who can influence who, and do they like competitors? Are they going to be a blocker? And starting to have that collaborative session with the visual behind it is the best way to start establishing that relationship. Now, I'll be quiet for a minute or two. Nate and Andy, I'm sure you guys have a perspective around whether it's the data that you should be thinking about, whether it's the actions or how to approach relationship mapping. Any perspective there?
Yeah, I can kick us off here. I think whether you're using a solution or not, I'm guessing everyone on this call is using a CRM. Go look back at the last 5 or 10 close one new business opportunities. Go look at 5 or 10 of your most recent add-on or expansion opportunities and actually start to sift through who is involved in those. Because if you're not sure where to start when it comes to mapping and identifying the different types of seniorities or the different groups you need to be in front of, your CRM can be a gold mine. So for anyone trying to get this off the ground, that's a really easy way to get a sense of, okay, for the last 10 deals that we've won, our customers we've expanded on, senior level leadership in sales or senior level leadership in engineering had to be involved to expand that footprint. And same on the net new side. I think that's low hanging fruit that you can tap into your CRM and honestly probably get that analysis done in an hour or two at the most, and that'll get you going.
And the only thing I'd say that we typically recommend across all account plans is we want to get the data, we want to get the relevant information in here, but we don't want to overdo it. So what we would see, and this is good hygiene you see on this account plan, is that every person on here has either a badge or a relationship or both associated with their card, except for the internal team, which doesn't matter for that. But the badges are really, really helpful for us to identify why we want them on the map if we don't know them, or what we've done with those people, right? And sometimes what we'll do is we'll build automations that say, maybe we add a badge automatically if we haven't talked to this person in the last 90 days, right? And so those are the reasons why you call them out, or you use those custom relationships like the buying path to draw the relationship. So always have a reason for people to be on the relationship map. Don't just put people on the relationship map to put them on the map, right? And that's a huge piece of the advice that we give. And then we'll automate some of these things with the badges, especially that you don't have to manually do the badges every single time. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Nate. And as it relates to data, Andy, any best practices in finding data that you've seen from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on a little bit, right? Like some of this is going to be manual as you start to talk with end users at an account, lower level individuals, and as you gather feedback during your process of your outreach. But use AI to your advantage as well, right? There's a lot of information at our fingertips that can help supplement what it takes up front to understand, the strategic initiatives, not just at a company level, but also at the team level, challenges or, changes in the industry. Those are things that we don't necessarily have to spend hours taking care of like we used to. Spend as much of that time as possible. I think building the relationships and documenting where you're going to need help or where you've got, progress. I think that's where I'd focus when it comes to account planning, but capturing the information up front, really important because as we all know, territories change hands, right? Like reps get new territories each year. When you pass off an account to account management, having as much information documented as possible is going to help that handoff. Partnership. So having all of this information captured in one place, really critical, but it all starts with the account research up front and don't skimp on it. Use tech where it can help, but also get your hands dirty and collect information from people at the business as well.
Great. Thank you both. I'm sure everyone on this call has heard of a SWOT analysis, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. The only comment and best practice that I'll say around a SWOT analysis is your strengths and your opportunities are great. That's the shiny light that everybody goes to. On a monthly basis, at least, really check yourself on the weaknesses and threats at the account level and at the opportunity level across your account. I'd recommend meeting with your account team, if not twice a month, at least once a month. And in having those meetings with your account team, I mentioned, here are the team members up here. I mentioned at the beginning, discipline, buy-in, and accountability. If you are the strategic leader on an account, which if your name's tied to that account, you're the strategic leader on the account. Whether you have assign folks at the account team level or not. It's your job to be the cliche term of quarterback on that account to hold every single person accountable. And in order to do that, again, to get back and take this back to the beginning, it's understanding the account, it's doing the research, it's understanding the gaps, it's understanding the historical data points across that org, whether it's at the opportunity or relationship map level, and coming in with a fresh point of view and getting your team to check you on that point of view, getting them to buy into that point of view, and being able to hold each person accountable, which you can see right here, who's done what within the account plan. So you can check that on a week by week, a month by month basis, because accountability, buy-in, treating an account plan like an opportunity and treating an account like an opportunity is really where you're going to go find those big whales, and how you're going to make your year. So there's 100 other things that I wanted to talk about today around competitive threats, around customer CSAT scores, etc. If this was relevant to you, and if you guys would like to have a conversation with Nate, myself, with Andy, please feel free to email us, ping us on LinkedIn. We're happy to be a resource for you. We have lots of customers that do account planning day by day and have picked up on best practices across those customers. So I'll leave it at that just for the sake of time. I know we're a minute over. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Andy, for your guys' time and perspective today. And definitely thanks everyone for joining. Hope everyone has an awesome rest of the day.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks, y'all.